Good evening and welcome to Parents Night Out, CTE and your school. We'll get started in just a minute. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to filter in. And right now, Dennis has just posted in the chat a link for sign in. We're asking everyone to please complete the form in the chat. That way you will have access to the VitalLink app and all of the assets and links and everything from tonight. So please do that right away. And in just a minute, we will get started. Again, good evening and welcome to Parents Night Out, CTE in your school. If you're just signing in, please find the link in the chat and fill that out for us. It's just we're asking for your name and your email address, and that will allow us to give you access to the VitalLink app and all of the assets, recordings, and everything from tonight. We will get started in just 1 minute. Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Brian Dozer. I'm the president of VitalLink, and we are very excited to be here with a lot of really fantastic folks from the educational community around Orange County to talk to you about career and technical education in your school. First of all, I would like to have each of our esteemed panelists introduce themselves. I'm going to go off of what's on my screen, and in the upper corner for me is Miss Kathy Boyd. Kathy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, my name is Kathy Boyd. I'm the director of what we call the Career Education Unit at Orange County Department of Education. And I come with a background of being a school counselor and a school site administrator. And it's really exciting to be in this world of what we call CTE, Career Technical Education. So thanks for joining us tonight. Look forward to talking more.
Wonderful, thank you, Kathy. JS?
Hi, I'm J.S. Koch, and I'm Director of Educational Services for Coastline Regional Occupational Program based in Costa Mesa. And we serve 5 school districts in the central coastal region of the county. And like Kathy, I come to this evening tonight with a broad background coming from an elementary teacher to a continuation high school principal to high school principal, and now in the ROP CTE world. I'm also very happy to see you tonight. Thank you for being here.
Wonderful, thank you, JS. Amelia, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Amelia Cuevas, and I'm a job placement specialist with North Orange County ROP. Buenas tardes, soy Amelia Cuevas. Soy especialista en colocación de laboral para el programa regional de ROP y estoy aquí por si alguien necesita apoyo en español, cualquier padre. Bienvenidos.
Thank you very much, Amelia. Kim Goodwin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Goodwin. I am the coordinator of OC Pathways at Orange County Department of Education. I'm actually on Kathy Boyd's team. My experience is a school counselor in elementary, middle, and high school. I have various other jobs as well. That is my background, and now I'm at Orange County Department of Ed, working with counselors, coordinators regarding CTE, and working with our ROP partners.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Brandon.
Hello, my name is Brandon Curran. I'm the Career Technical Education Specialist at North Orange County ROP. We serve over 5 high school districts, thousands of students, around 26 high schools. Very excited to be here. I'm also on the team with Amelia Cuevas. For those who are wondering, she is going to be translating any Spanish dialogue tonight. If you have any questions in Spanish, she's able to answer that. We're here to serve you and help you understand what career technical education is and how it can benefit you and your students. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And just a reminder to everyone, I know we had some people who just joined us. Please fill out the form that is showing up in the chat. That way you will be given access to all the assets and videos and everything from tonight. This is a great group of educators from around Orange County. You might be wondering, where does VitalLink fit into this? VitalLink is a nonprofit organization that works with our educators, K-12, community college, ROPs, and the Orange County Department of Education across Orange County to help students find their careers and something they can be passionate about. What we like to say is that we are focused on college and career exploration for our students, and again, helping your students find something that will light a fire inside of their souls. So what we're going to do tonight is we have a number of questions, and so I will facilitate the questions, or moderate, I guess. And as we go through it, though, we want to make sure that we are mindful of any questions that you might have that are not being answered. So please, if you do have questions, post those in the Q&A section, not in the chat, but in the Q&A. And if you see a question that you like, that you want to see answered, upvote that, and that way the top questions will rise to the top, and we'll address those as we go through the evening. So with that, let's get started. The first topic that we want to cover is, what exactly is career technical education, and what is its main purpose? Kathy, would you take that one for us?
Sure. I'm going to kick off these questions as Brian tells us to, but I want everyone to join in so you can have the benefit of all of our perspectives. I'm going to come from a school counselor perspective because I think parents can relate to that really well. When you're looking at a student in either middle school or high school, you're trying to find the best access to as much as possible so that they're well prepared when they leave high school, whatever their post-secondary pursuits are. So when you think of a like 4-year plan, that's a concept that most people can gather around. They're taking the required classes for high school graduation, like math and science and English and history, for example. CTE is also now slowly entering as possibly a graduation requirement, but certainly a beneficial course or set of courses that a student wants to engage in while they're in middle school and high school. And the reason for that is many of our students want to leave high school, possibly go right into the world of work, or go into a 4-year degree or a 2-year college, or some type of schooling. And in order to do that well and to save families time and money, the CTE options allow a student to kind of dabble, explore, and understand how careers relate to college majors and relate obviously to the world of work and opportunities for employment outside of high school. So there's a lot to be involved in. This whole conversation will be around the different tangents and dynamics of CTE. But simply put, CTE is a concept where you have classes, which we often refer to inside schools as elective classes, and students can start taking them. They can usually take up to 4, 5, and 6 over their middle school and high school years. They can take as few as 1 in 1 year, but we want to do everything we can in the career education community to connect their learning in math and science and English and history to something that is relevant and it means something to them. So that's CTE will cover the whole breadth of areas of interest in the world of work, I guess is the best way to say it. Anybody else want to add into that definition?
No, it seems like you covered it pretty well. We did have a video that addresses this as well. I apologize. I was supposed to lead with that, but no, I actually think it fits in well because it will actually, it reinforces your wonderful message, Kathy. So Dennis, do you want to start the video real quick?
Everyone wants kids to be ready to take on the real world, right? So what's the secret? Say hello to CTE. CTE is Career Technical Education. Maybe you've never heard of it, but CTE gives learners an academic foundation along with technical skills and hands-on experience in a whole bunch of different areas to help them get ready for the real world. Think of CTE as a high school experience, but with even more value because it fills a big gap for a lot of students. In fact, CTE learners and their parents are 3 times as likely to say they're very satisfied with the ability to learn real-world skills as part of their education as compared to non-CTE learners and their parents. And since over 75% of CTE learners enroll in post-secondary education after high school, CTE is definitely creating a path to college and career success. And get this, they have a graduation rate over 10% higher than non-CTE students. Did you know 89% of parents think students should receive more education about career choices while in high school? That's where CTE comes in. Think about it. Is it better to experiment with career choices when you're paying money to do so in college? Or should it happen in high school so students know a lot earlier whether a career option is the right fit? The answer is fairly obvious, don't you think? Now let's talk about why CTE is good for business and industry. It's pretty simple. Companies want skilled employees, and they're having a hard time finding them, which can cost a company money in lost productivity. Enter CTE. 6 of the 10 hardest to fill positions are in technical fields or require a CTE background. In fact, about half of all CTE learners are enrolled in programs in leading fields such as healthcare, STEM, and information technology, matching employer needs with student passions. CTE programs directly connect learners in high school and post-secondary with employers through internships, apprenticeships, and other meaningful on-the-job experiences. When it comes to CTE, more than twice as many CTE parents report being satisfied with internship opportunities. That means a lot of doors are being opened for kids. So here's the bottom line. Parents want their kids to find a career they can be passionate about. Kids want the same thing. And when you think about the real world, what could be better than having learners enter a field they know is right for them with a ton of hands-on experience? It's all possible thanks to CTE. CTE, learning that works for America. To learn more, visit careertech.org.
Thank you, Dennis. That's a wonderful video. JS, where exactly did CTE come from? Can you share a little bit about the history of it with us?
Well, to learn about where CTE came from, you almost have to go back to the foundation of America. Because at the beginning of our nation, we've always needed a skilled workforce to run the country. Well, for years, there was always this tension between formal education and the workforce because education was viewed as providing a classical education, Greek, Latin, the higher level math that did not always connect with the needs of an agrarian society that became an industrial society with the Industrial Revolution. And so at the turn of the century, we began to see a greater need to train our workforce. And it was actually in 1917 that the federal government passed a first federal bill to provide money for vocational education back then. And a number of federal bills have taken place over the years, but in California, a little over 50 years ago, the state legislature felt the need that we needed to have better training for the workforce here in the state of California. So in the 1960s, language was added to the education code to provide organizations known as regional occupational centers or programs to provide training for a skilled workforce. Now at that time, it's still voc ed, vocational education. And in the last 20 years, we've seen a transition from vocational education to career technical education. I want to give you an example. In the 1970s, when I was in middle school and high school in California, now I'm telling my age, I know, but back in the olden days, I took metal welding, wood shop, drafting, business machines, business math. All of these classes had one goal, and that was to provide me the skills to get a job the day after high school graduation. That's voc ed. Today, career technical education is providing the foundation for our students so when they finish high school, they could get a job, but they are beginning a career to give them preparation to go to the next step, the next step, and the next step. Or it could be that they're providing a foundation to go straight into one of our great community colleges or into the four-year community college world to provide greater training for them. So career technical education today is including a broader perspective of better critical thinking skills to really provide a greater education for our students. Whereas voc ed years ago was metal, welding, auto, and things of that sort, CTE today, as you saw in the video, includes engineering, nursing, all the medical professions, the veterinary sciences, the media arts, advanced manufacturing. And parents, when you hear advanced manufacturing, think durable medical equipment that is high-end, top dollar, that requires a lot of engineering to create. And even in the public services, where else do you need first responders to be trained? And we have them here right in Orange County. So a huge change that we're seeing in CTE today is that local school districts are fully embracing career technical education to provide great programs for our students. And in a little bit, Kim and Kathy are going to share more with you about OC Pathways and all the different pathway programs across the 4 regions of Orange County. And oftentimes these programs are provided by a district or by a regional occupational program or the county office, or sometimes in concert with each other, developing great partnerships that we have here in the county. And so I'm grateful that in Orange County, we have a wonderful foundation of districts that believe in CTE, a county office that provides great leadership in CTE. We have 9 wonderful community colleges that just about any program you need in the CTE field, you can find in one of the OC community colleges. And so this is just a wonderful example of how CTE has grown exponentially and how Orange County is responding to the need.
That's fantastic. I actually didn't know some of that history, you know, and my background or my experience prior to joining VitalLink was in higher education. But, you know, along the way, I heard about, you know, this idea of career technical education and just how important it was to our economy and to our businesses and some of the challenges. And, you know, then I learned about ROPs and the community colleges and what a wonderful group of community colleges that we had. And then along the way, I was introduced to Kathy and Kim and OC Pathways and just started to see all of that amazing work. And, you know, for me, it actually drew me away from, you know, higher education working for 4-year colleges. And I just think that the work that you guys are doing and that we do is really absolutely incredible. And there's quite an ecosystem in Orange County around CTE that I know personally for VitalLink, you know, we want to evangelize on behalf of that. We want to get more students involved in that. So, you know, which brings me to the next question, which is really addressing how students can benefit from CTE. And I think we've addressed it, a little bit of it was in the kind of writ large or globally in the video. But Kathy, can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, a little more on a micro level, how students can benefit from it?
Sure. And I want to go through my analogy again from a counselor perspective. So I have a student walk in my office and they're like, you know, Miss Boyd, I don't know what to take. And I'm like, when they're talking about picking their classes, right? Because they have to take some and they get to choose some, right? And so when it comes down to that conversation and how this helps students, it's my first question to them is, well, what do you like to do? Like, you're not in school. What do you like to do on your spare time? And no matter what their answer is, I've got a link to CTE for them, right? So they love gaming. I just love to sit. To be honest, Ms. Boyd, I sit for 10 hours in a video game. No problem. Let's take advantage of that. Do you know how many careers are associated with video gaming? I could name 15 off the top of my head. Did you know you can take a class like that in school? Let me tell you those class titles and how you can access them, right? So how does it benefit students? It makes them understand that whatever they're interested in, whatever their passion is, whatever their spare time is spent doing, we can connect that to the school or to the learning or to the classroom or however you want to say that. There's this thing that all employers have been talking about for so long, and we all can relate to it as parents or as educators, and that is that CEOs, human resources managers, and people that are out in the world of work that are going through the hiring phases with their people to try and get their workforce built up, they're not seeing in candidates what they need to see, you know, and we often refer to that set of skills as maybe soft skills or employability skills. I'd like to say, let's call them critical skills, because that's what juncture we're in right now. We have lots of employers in Orange County that want to hire students at every range, entry level, mid-level, and advanced careers. And they need students to come out of school with these critical skill sets. I'm going to mention a few of them: communication skills, listening skills, empathy, the ability to problem solve, right? And not necessarily go and ask for help every single time. So those types of skills are what they learn in any CTE class. So in a CTE class, you're learning about actual technical skills. And that's like, if you're in automation, you're learning about the engine, you're learning about the rotor, you're learning about all these different things. But every class has resume building, interview skills, the critical skills building, and what you need to do as an employee, no matter what, whatever sector or profession you enter. So CTE answers those questions for why is school important? Why do I have to take math? Why do I have to take English? Why do I have to take history? Why do I have to take science? Why do I have to take anything these darn teachers are telling me to take? They don't ask that question in a CTE class. They get it immediately when they walk through the door. And the entire year is engaging, it's hands-on, it's fun. There's leadership opportunities within every CTE class as well. So if a student wants to be an employee of a company, or they want to be the employer in a career sector, they don't necessarily have to make that decision, but they get to explore what that might look like on both sides of the fence. Do they want to work for private companies when they enter the workforce? Do they want to work for public companies? What are the benefits and the drawbacks when it comes to those types of things? So you can see how CTE explores a wider domain, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, of things that students don't necessarily think about in middle school and high school. But I'd like my other team members to jump in if they have anything to add to that.
You know, I'd like to add to what you were saying, Kathy, about students in CTE programs see the immediate relevance of their classes as opposed to academic classes. But this is a huge difference too in the history of CTE, whereas CTE integrates academic skills. So the skills our students are learning in their AP English classes, their advanced math classes, algebra, the social sciences are fully embedded in those CTE classes. In fact, in our course outlines that we provide where we decide what's going to be taught, we include the academic skills from the state standards along with the career tech ed skills. So this is where Voc Ed didn't think about the academic skills. CTE brings them into the class.
I'll add
Yeah,
one
that's
more.
fantastic.
Can I add one more thing there, Brian?
Please do.
Okay, I just want to tie in another piece. When students love what they're doing, it gives them a perfect purpose. They build self-esteem and self-confidence, and they like going to school or putting their hands on that project. And that's really what we're going after, is to engage the student. And that's what CTE does. So I don't want us to forget that last little piece of our social emotional well-being as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, as someone who, you know, I've spent a lot of time in workforce development, but mainly talking to organizations. You know, as Kathy mentioned, CEOs and HR managers just nonstop are, you know, those employability skills are lacking. We need more critical thinking. We need more communication skills. We need more, you know, on and on and on. And it's so nice to hear that that's actually embedded within the courses. Brandon, any thoughts from you on this?
Yeah, so you guys explained that very beautiful explanation about what CTE is and how it can prepare students for their workforce experience. What I like to add is that CTE can also benefit students in preparing for post-secondary education. And this could come in different forms too. So when you hear post-secondary education, what does that look like? Right away, many of our thoughts are, oh, my student's going to go to either a community college or go to a state university or private university, right? CTE can prepare students for that. It can also prepare students for technical schools as well. Many CTE programs offer certifications that we'll talk about that a bit later, but they offer certifications that can directly feed into these post-secondary programs. And in addition to this as well, in terms of post-secondary education, in terms of community college, many CTE courses can also give your student early college credit. So to kind of break this down a little bit more clear, say your student's taking an automotive course at Anaheim High School. It's good to really ask your counselor and your teacher, what are the benefits of the CTE course? What can the CTE course offer my student? Many times, I know our automotive courses at North Orange County ROP, they receive early college credit at Fullerton College. So there's just an opportunity that CTE course offers. Not each one has that same opportunity, but it's really good for you as a parent to really reach out to, counselors and teachers and really investigate what are the full benefits of the CTE course. What can my student get from this beyond high school? In conclusion, CTE can offer a lot. I'm not sure if anyone wants to expand on that, but it's good to really investigate what those benefits are for your student.
Brandon, I want to build on that too, if that's okay. Oftentimes, like the history of was explained by JS so well. History of ROP or of CTE is vocational education to ROP to CTE. And in some ways, people think, oh, that's for career, not college. And I think you did really well, Brandon. It's for both. In fact, it's essential for both. So the game has changed, and we need to make sure parents and community members understand the change. And what we want you to understand is CTE or elective classes now are basically covering all of the college and career readiness aspects you might look for. For instance, many of our CTE classes are designated as UC or CSU approved. UC stands for University of California. That's one of our state college systems. CSU stands for Cal State University. It's their other state college system from a four-year college. And then of course, CCs, which are community colleges. So we've got all three of those systems, as well as the private and independent colleges, like Brendan mentioned. But CTE feeds into those, I would say more so than anything else on the list. Technical schools was kind of the old thinking, and it certainly is still open to students. But we all know that technical trade schools tend to be more expensive than any of those other three statewide institutions we've talked about. So we've made sure to be inclusive and make sure CTE covers all of those. And I really, from a counseling perspective, I'm going to say that most of my students were picking college majors when they were leaving high school by playing pin the tail on the donkey. Mm-hmm. CTE is the game changer that makes a student and a parent understand this is something I'm good at. This is something I'm interested. This is how it applies to my college major and a potential career, which in college turns into sometimes a paid internship in their junior and senior year of college. So these are things to give them a competitive edge and an advantage over their other peer students. And I think that I'm glad to see so many parents on here tonight so that you can understand this is the thing to make your students stand apart in the application process for college. Whereas that didn't necessarily exist as a conversation before. So I'm going to give you an example of a student who wants to be a pre-med major at UCLA. There's a lot of students who want to be a pre-med major at UCLA, right? And they've got the highest applicant base of any of the UCs, I think. That being said, when a student understands that they can take CTE courses during their high school years, they're separating themselves. So they're taking all of their typical honors and AP classes, and they're taking these hands-on courses multiple years in a row that show the college admissions officer, they know what they want and why they want it. They've actually drawn blood. They've done things that mean something so that they're not just thinking they want to be a doctor, they know, and then they can rationalize why in their personal statement for their college admissions essay. So again, it builds on the whole college, and you did a great job, Brandon, but I wanted to add those other elements in.
This is fantastic, and we're getting a lot of great questions. I do want to take just a minute to answer a couple of them. There were a couple in there that said really kind of when and where, right? When do I start? Can they start in middle school? Do they have to start in high school? And then do they take them during the summer? Do they? So can one of you address a little bit of that? JS?
I can take that. The answer is yes. Yes, you can take CTE classes in middle school. Most districts that I know of in Orange County started by developing their CTE courses in high schools and then said, wait a minute, we need to connect our middle school students to these pathways. Most districts I know are putting wonderful CTE courses in middle school. In one of the districts I serve, they have now developed engineering pathways in grades 6, 7, and 8 to connect students to the engineering pathways through schools in high school. So yes, middle school is the place to start.
Okay.
Now you sign up for these CTE classes by going through your school's guidance office. Your school guidance office is your best resource. Your student's counselor is the first one to ask. And I think it's a wonderful place to start. Yes.
I also
Wonderful.
want to add that when every high school and middle school, but every high school in Orange County, as the Orange County Department of Ed, I can speak on behalf of them. They offer every spring, they offer an opportunity for every student to pick their classes, right? They also make people sometimes believe that they don't have a whole lot of choice in which classes they pick. And that's the part that I want parents to understand. You have the ultimate choice, and the students have the ultimate choice of what they take. That being said, sometimes on the registration sheet you get from the school, it may not include all of these options.
Right.
So it's really important that you're listening tonight and that you pay attention to the organizations that are represented, because you can go to any of your ROPs and they will give you a full, complete list. I saw in the questions, they were wondering, do they take these classes on campus or off campus? During the bell schedule, meaning from 8 to 3, the typical day, after the bell schedule, 0 period, or up in the evenings and the weekends. The answer is yes to all of that. So basically, there's every iteration you can think of. Some students can't fit it in their typical school day. That's why they're built outside of the school day. Some students must fit it in their typical school day. That's why they're built into the school day. So basically, you can get any option available. And if you're in a certain district and that district doesn't necessarily offer it in the time that you need, we can still help you gain access to those courses. That's where what Brandon said plays in. There's dual enrollment, and there's some early college credit opportunities where we can have you access that through the colleges for free. So there's a lot of options on how to access it. But I do want to say, with passion, as a high school counselor, you can fit it all in. Let me say that really clearly one more time. I don't care if your student is a football player and on ASB and charge of 3 different clubs. They can fit it all in. CTE has been made accessible in every way, shape, and form you can possibly imagine. So the biggest thing to take away tonight is, if you're having questions about that and you're not getting the answers you need from your counselors or from people at your school site, you can engage with any one of us on this call and we'll help you understand what that looks like. And we'd be happy to do so. Yes, friends and team? Not on that? Okay.
Yeah, and we will provide everyone's contact information and at the end of this. So feel free after this to reach out to anyone on here. This is an amazing group. So lots. I love the fact that there are so many questions. I did want to, we've heard discussion about a couple of words, pathways and dual enrollment. I do want to dig in to those a little bit and talk about that. So would one of you, care to define what we mean when we talk about dual enrollment?
Dual enrollment is a program that's been authorized by California legislature that permits a high school student to take a college course on their high school campus. And when they complete that course, they receive automatic community college credit for the course. Now, in most cases, it's taken on the high school campus. There are situations where the high school student can go to the college to take a dual enrollment course, but for the most part, they're taken on the high school campus. Dual enrollment is it's not necessarily new, but it's still in its growth mode throughout the county. An older version of that is called articulated credit, which is very similar to dual enrollment. It kind of provides similar benefits, but dual enrollment is very powerful because when you finish the course, you have a transcript right then and there.
Okay. And so then what do we mean by pathways? Kathy?
So a pathway is a series of, okay, let me say it this way. California Department of Education, who runs all of our school systems, defines a pathway completer as a student who has enrolled and completed and passed 2 courses in a CTE pathway. And they have to take what's called a concentrator, which is like a mid-level course, and a capstone, which is like a completer course. Oftentimes, the capstone course may include an internship. So there's 2 courses that make you a pathway completer, but a pathway is just a sequence of courses. Again, it used to be a few years back that you could, have 4 or 5 or 6, and that still exists. But if you want to be a pathway completer, as far as the California Department of Ed is concerned, it's the 2 courses. So it's just basically tying these things together in one theme or multiple themes so that students can understand the value of building the knowledge set.
Okay. And so what are some of the more popular pathways that are offered at Orange County?
The most popular enrolled pathway is, or sector. So let me describe this a little bit easier too. California Department of Ed has helped us with some language aspects. So there are 15 sectors, career sectors, that our pathways fall under. Within those 15 sectors, there's 58 different pathways. Within the pathway, there's then courses that make up that pathway. So that's the leveling of that.
Sure.
Some of the more interesting, or I would say popular ones for enrollment, are arts, media, and entertainment related courses, and then health and medical science courses. And I'm going to let somebody else talk because I'm talking a lot. So I'm going to let you guys jump in with some of those course titles.
Brandon, why don't you give us some of that information?
Of course. So a popular pathway or industry/pathway is patient care. So if you think of a pathway, think of it as like a road, right? Like when you get to, like, say in Dora the Explorer, she has to go through the jungle first and then through the bridge, and then she's on Candy Mountain. That's exactly what a pathway is. So the first part of a patient care pathway might be medical careers, where students can learn what is the different medical careers offered, what are the general terms that we can relate to the medical field. It's just kind of a general knowledge that expands, what they want, where they might go. So now they're past the jungle, the next step in the map for them is maybe their intermediate course, their middle course, which could be, human anatomy course. This could be called body systems and disorders. This has different names depending on which district or high school it's at. But this will give the student more like in-depth knowledge of, the body, things that are very pertinent to maybe various medical careers. And then their last place that they go to, that they made on the map, Candy Mountain, is their final course, which is called the capstone. So it's good that I said Candy Mountain, because capstone kind of seems like, the cap of a mountain, right? I'm just trying to give you visuals here, so hopefully you're following along.
Wonderful, yeah.
So, and that can, vary depending on which school or district your student's in. So for maybe the medical pathway or the patient care pathway, it might be a dental assistant course. It might be medical assistant, nursing assistant. It's just a more focused course. And this is where your student really kind of digs in deep into a specific career field, correct? Because those are all very different courses. Sports medicine is one as well. And then within that, your student has completed the pathway. They went through medical careers, they pushed through human anatomy, and then they got their finalized course where they learned a very specific career or skill that they can carry over post-secondary. So that's just kind of like what a pathway looks like through the patient care pathway, but each pathway has its own unique set of courses that form what it is. So hopefully that was a good explanation for you.
No, I think that was wonderful. I love that. I'm going to probably steal that from you. Anybody else have any input on some popular pathways in Orange County? JS, Kim?
Well, I can speak in my ROP. The emergency responder pathway is huge. We have hundreds of students each semester taking our initial emergency medical responder course, and many of them will go on to take the emergency medical technician class, which allows you to sit for the National Registry of EMTs. And this pathway is a wonderful experience because, as you know, since our ROP is along the coast, we have a lot of potential lifeguards in our high schools, in our districts. And so many of them take these courses because it helps them getting jobs as lifeguards in the county. And when you finish your EMT in the National Registry, you are now eligible for an entry-level position with the local ambulance companies here in Orange County for a full-time job. So that's a really popular pathway with us. Okay,
wonderful. Any other thoughts, comments on that one?
Let me add in, since I mentioned arts, media, entertainment, it's one of the more popular ones. I'm going to mention a few different pathways in there. So there's a digital photography pathway, potentially. There's a graphic design pathway. There's a multimedia arts pathway where they combine them. There's a video production pathway. There's a I don't know if I mentioned digital photography, but basically they might, let's say it's a digital photography. So you would take, photography, then you would take advanced photography. And then like at the top of the mountain, like Brandon said, you basically would possibly have an internship with a photography type of company. So there's a lot of different iterations, and each of the schools and ROPs have, you know, multiple ways of kind of showing you the examples. I'm going to have Kim drop in some links into the chat so you can explore all 58 pathways available in the state of California. And then you can compare all of the ones available and what your district has as offerings through the ROP that serves them. So that's kind of a nice way to think of it. I saw somebody put Orange Unified in there. That is the district I used to work with. For instance, I think they have 28 different pathways district-wide. Each of the high schools has a number anywhere from 7 to 12 different pathways. So you're going to see a variation, and that changes every year, as well it should. They should be building pathways based on the economic need that is in Orange County, as well as the student interest. And that's what school administrators and counselors are trying to do, is match the right kinds of course offerings to the interest and the need in the region. So.
Okay, wonderful. The Orange Unified question was asking if there was a pathway for students interested in becoming a lawyer.
Yes, it's a public service related pathway. That's how it would be related for all of our organizations. It's under the public service sector.
All right, wonderful.
Can I try one more thing in there too, Brian?
Please.
Because I saw this question. It said, you know, what is OC Pathways, CTE, and ROP?
Yes.
And I just want to tie that back in, is everything we're talking about is it's all the same. OC Pathways just happens to be the brand from Orange County Department of Ed in our region. And then ROP and is CTE. CTE is ROP. So you will just hear those terms used interchangeably. So we just don't want that to like, it is all the same, essentially what we're talking about. Did anyone want to add there?
The reason that you have different terms is because like JS said, it's in legislation from the state. It used to be called ROP, Regional Occupation Program is what ROP stands for. Then they changed the verbiage and they kind of talk to it now as CTE, Career Technical Education. But essentially they're talking about the same thing. They're just using different terms. JS, anything else to add there?
Actually, the best way for me to explain it is CTE, Career Technical Education, is the type of class. ROPs, school districts, are ways of serving and providing CTE classes. That's where the difference is.
I like that. I like the way you said that. Thank you, JS.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful.
You know, Brian, I'd like to jump in here. One of the questions in the chat alluded to something I was going to mention tonight, and that's the time commitment for students in CTE classes. It's important for parents to know that, let me look at the after bell classes. Classes that are taken after school are either called after bell or regional classes, meaning they're open to all the students in that region from any of the schools, any of the 25, 30 schools you serve, you can come to those classes. Now, it may be that if you're in a very intense class, such as a pre-certification for nursing assistant, which leads you to become a CNA in California, you're cramming a year's worth of hours into one semester. So you're planning to give up 3 days a week at 4 hours a day. That's 12 hours after school. That's a pretty hefty schedule. You might be taking a year-long culinary class, which is 1 day a week for 5 hours, or say 2.5 to 3 hours a day, a couple times a week. So the time commitment is going to vary upon the number of credits you're going to earn for the class and the number of hours that are required for the class. Now, some people may think, well, is this really doable? Well, let me give you an example. I have a student right now from one of my districts. Last fall, on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, she took her certified nursing assistant class. On Thursdays, she spent 5 hours in her EMT class. So keep in mind now, all these extra hours she's putting in. In January, she passed the state certified nursing assistant exam 100% in both sections. She's now a state certified CNA, California. She's still in her year-long EMT class. And when she passes the National Registry in June, she will have a National Registry EMT. She wants to go into medical school as a certified nursing assistant and as a National Registry EMT.
Wow.
That puts her up on the college applications.
Yeah.
You see, she's willing to give that time commitment because that's her goal and that's what she really wants to do. If you want kind of a lightweight CTE class to kind of explore and see how you feel, those are available too. But the breadth is there for all of our students.
So one of the questions that hasn't been answered, maybe a little bit specific, and it might, depend upon where you are, but what's the process for enrolling? I know, Kathy, you addressed this a little bit.
Yeah, so the first step they usually take is they fill out their spring registration form for their high school or their middle school. So I'm choosing my classes now, if I'm a high school student, for next year. And they're turning that into their counselor. So that's why JS guided them earlier. Counselors are your best bet. Your guidance technicians are counselors. So they're the first source of getting this information. A student saying, I'm interested in taking this. Sometimes they can give you all the information you need. Sometimes they're limited on what information they can give. So what happens then is you can always connect with any of your ROPs or anybody else that, on this call, and we can help you with those next steps. But the first entry point is your school registration sheet. And you're telling them, out of my classes, I'm taking 5, 6, or 7 classes, and these are the ones I want to take.
Okay. And I do want to address the last question in here, which is something that we all talk about. It comes up just at meetings all the time, and that's internships. And, so the specific question was, we're already taking an ROP, and as a senior next year, we're interested in a summer internship. How do we look and apply? Any thoughts from anyone on that?
Well, I can give you one right up front. Once you graduate from high school, you're no longer eligible to take a high school or ROP class in the summer after you graduate, because you're now a graduate. So you want to get that internship no later than the summer between your junior and senior years. So if you're a junior this year, this summer is your internship year if you want a summer internship. Now I know our ROP, and I'm sure North Orange County, others do as well, offer internships throughout the school year. So you want to look at those as an option for you as well too. So I know that if you live in an ROP served district, many of us have career guidance specialists, career specialists that work on our campuses. And those are usually located in the guidance office or in the college and career center. That's a good place to go to. I'm glad I said that. Many schools have a college and career center that tends to be kind of separate from the guidance office. That is also a good resource for you to go to get further information.
All right, wonderful.
Let me make sure they know an internship is often associated just like a course. A course is an internship is a course. So it's the same sign-up process. They're picking their courses through their college and career center, through their guidance office, through their counselor. And
this goes back to Brandon's Candy Mountain comment just a little bit earlier, that an internship is usually what Brandon called the capstone class. It means you've had experiences. For instance, one that we offer is automotive internship, where students are working, say, at the major automotive places here in the county, but they've already had a couple of years of strong automotive training in high school, and the internship is the capstone class for them. So and when you think of internship as you excelling in those skills. You're taking your skills to the highest level where you're applying them and getting real world experience.
All right, wonderful. And just one last question that we had on our agenda. If someone wants to take this, what are we talking when we talk about things like certifications or certificates, industry recognized certifications? What really are we talking about, and how is that related to this?
Well, since I had prepared for that, so let me kind of give you some ideas here. There are industry certifications in just about every industry you can think of. Let me just give you some quick ones. We talked about EMT National Registry certification. We talked about Certified Nursing Assistant. The Adobe Suite, all have certifications to go along with all the Adobe Suites. The Dental Practice Act, Infection Control and Radiology is what prepares you to become a dental assistant in a dental office. SolidWorks is a certification for those wanting to go into engineering because it teaches you how to use the industry-specific software. Pharmacy technician license is available through the state by finishing a pharm tech course in high school. If you're in any kind of culinary class, you're going to take the food handler's license, which is an entry-level certification that you have to get a job anywhere in the food services in the state of California. Transportation has so many certifications provided by Snap-on, NC3, for how to do wheel balancing and everything you can think of. And when we talk about automotive, we're not talking about a very greasy automotive shop from 50 years ago. We're talking about high-tech industry when we talk about automotive today. You walk into any of the big shops like Fletcher Jones and some of the other ones, you're going to see top of the line. And this is what many students are able to get into. And I know a lot of us throughout the county in our courses, a very basic certification, American Heart Association Basic Lifesaver CPR. Every year, there are thousands of high school students in this county that are qualified in CPR. That's that many number of students that can save a life. And that's a wonderful certification to have.
Wonderful. Wow, just so many questions coming in. And we're almost out of time, and we do have some final wrap up. I'm just going to cover a couple more of these questions real quick. I have a rising 8th and 9th grader. Would it be better for the parents to ask more info, or can kids ask on their own? Not sure what the counselor prefers. Anybody have any thoughts on best ways to address that? Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that?
Can you repeat that one more time?
I'm sorry. So they have an 8th and a 9th grade rising students, and they're wondering, should the parents get involved? Do the students need to go talk to the counselor? What's the best process for something like that?
So my suggestion is both.
Okay.
I believe counselors are there for students and parents.
Okay.
Middle school counselor is there to help prepare students for that next transition into high school. Many of our middle school counselors are actually very involved with our high school counselors and knowing what CTE programs are offered, what exactly, because they all feed into different high schools, correct? So they're very involved, they're very well informed. So I'm sure they'll be happy to work with either.
Okay. So here's one that's near and dear to my heart because my daughter's studying astrophysics. What CTEs would you recommend for getting a job as an astrophysicist? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Oh God, there's so many. It's so hard to answer a question like that. You guys, there's 15 sectors, 58 pathways, and then millions of courses. There's just, one of the things that's happening too in the field that we work in CTE is we're thinking about things of like automation. So augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all those things are really important. And so those are like broader cross-sector concepts that are being built into all of our courses too, because every sector has to deal with that. Yeah. I don't know, JS, would you go a certain direction with that one?
Well, I think because of the nature of astrophysics, a strong academic background in all of the sciences, physics, and in higher level mathematics is a necessity. So I think the academics are a given. I would say that from my personal experience, that's an area that I think CTE, I'm not familiar with any particular programs in the CTE world that goes to that because there's such a foundational academic requirement.
It's kind of like a post-secondary pursuit. So you have to remember we're in the high school world, and because astrophysics, when it gets to that element of detail, is going to have to include a post-secondary pursuit, that we leave the career technical education aspect to the post-secondary institutions. But again, I think that you're hitting the right way. The other thing I could say, which this could be a dynamic call we could have after the fact, but I could give you like course titles by career sector through 15 different little maps I could show you. And so that might help your thinking as you're thinking of different things that students think of. Oh, I want to be a this. And then it's like, what sector do I kind of concentrate around? That's a resource I can provide after the webinar.
Yeah, one of the things I could say about my daughter, who, like I said, is studying astrophysics right now, is I pushed her to make sure she was taking some computer and coding courses. Because that has become very, very important in the world of astrophysics. And so, think outside of just, astronomy and physics. There are a lot of other skills. If you go back and you look at what happened with the recording of the sounds from and the pictures of the first black hole, the key part in there was the young woman from MIT who coded and wrote all of the algorithms to pull all the data together. And, there was a picture of her in like the New York Times with like 90, hard drives stacked up on a table, showing how much computing power was required to process all of that. And so understanding computers and coding, and I had her actually in high school, had her take a Python class at Coastline College. And and it was wonderful for her.
That is a great suggestion. I'm sorry I didn't come up with that, and I'm sure JS is as well. Information communications technology is the sector that all of those kinds of courses, oftentimes regular school personnel will call that the computer sciences, but the term under career technical education is information communications and technologies.
Yeah. We are just about out of time. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially because we said 6 to 7. One of the things I would just like to do real quick is ask our panelists any final thoughts, anything you want to add before we kind of go into our final wrap up.
I think our final wrap up is going to include the website that they can access the video, which shows a nice canvas of Orange County. So I'm going to let you go there. I think.
Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much. If you do have questions that you didn't get answered, Dennis, you want to pull up the slides for us? Feel free to reach out to us. Make sure you register, or make sure you fill out the form with your name and email address, and we will send these slides to you. This will have the links to everyone who is on this call today, and you can reach out to any of us with any of your questions. Next slide, Dennis. One of the things we also wanted to do was to make sure that our attendees understood which ROP their students' schools were in. And so again, this will be on the slide deck that we send out, but there are 4 in Orange County that, that the school districts are assigned to. Next slide, Dennis. Next slide. Oh, there we go. One of the things that VitalLink is doing, we have created this hub, and we're calling it's the Explore, Discover, Connect hub. It's on what we call the VitalLink app, and all of the recordings from tonight, links, videos, a video that Kathy just mentioned that talks about CTE and pathways and things like that in Orange County will be posted on there. And we will send out the information to everyone who's in attendance tonight to give you access to the hub. And if for some reason you do not get that, feel free to reach out to one of us. You can always just email info@vitalinkoc.org. Dennis, will you put that link in the chat? Info@vitalinkoc.org, and we can get the information back to you. And then is there another slide, Dennis? I thought there was one more. There is. I did want to reiterate, there were a couple points in the video off the top that I really think are special and important about CTEOC, and that was that 75% of students who participate in CTE enroll in post-secondary after high school. I think that is an absolutely astounding number. And CTE students have a 10% higher graduation rate than non-CTE students. That is, if ever there was an endorsement, that data is definitely endorsement for having your students get involved in CTE, whether at their junior high school, their high school with the ROPs. It is absolutely amazing the results that we see. And with that, are there any other thoughts from? And here's the website. We posted this in the chat as well. This is the OC Pathways Showcase link. Kim or Kathy, you want to talk about this real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we dropped it in the chat, and it'll be in the hub as well. This is our OC. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Audio. Yep. Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
This is our OCDE/OC Pathways website. So you can see on the left-hand side, you can find a lot of great information, but we're specifically on just the showcase for this year. I would encourage you to watch right here, right there. Perfect. Mm-hmm. The 2020 showcase video. We did it virtually this year. So this is our whole event captured in a video. It's 45 minutes. That's long. If you just want a snippet of some regional adventure so you can see what's happening along the whole region, I encourage you to go to minute 14 and go specifically there and watch it. And then if you come down a little bit more, I do want to talk about the regional notebooks really quick. we talk about our region, and our region is in 4 areas, which are our ROPs. So you will see Central Region, Coastal, Northern, and Southern. And on there, you can click and go on your own adventure as well and see the kind of CTE programs and pathways that we have in the region. And there's a lot of other information. So I encourage you to take time as well to look at all of our partners and various things that around our showcase. So it's a great resource. Please take the time.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very, very much for that, Kim. And thank you again to all of our panelists, Kathy, JS, Brandon, Amelia, and Kim. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge with everyone tonight. It is, this is an area that, you know, and the reason we did this is because we wanted to highlight to parents just how important this is and that it's there for them. And the collaborative work that's being done across Orange County is in this area is just absolutely astounding. And so our students should take advantage of it. And so we really encourage you to do so. And with that, unless anybody else has anything, we will wrap it up. Thank you very much for attending, and join the Explore, Discover, Connect Hub, because we will be doing more events as we go along. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.